just a billionaire, he was the billionaire. A tech genius who built a global empire from a single laptop in his college dorm. His face appeared on magazine covers. His speeches sold out arenas. He had luxury in every form, a mansion overlooking the ocean, a collection of exotic cars, and a private jet with his initials stitched into the leather seats. But success comes with speed, and Jonathan moved faster than most. Board meetings in the morning, product launches in the afternoon, parties with celebrities at night. His schedule was chaos wrapped in wealth. Then everything changed. It was a stormy night, cold rain thundering on the windshield, lightning streaking across the sky. Jonathan had just left a charity gala where he'd pledged millions to a children's hospital. As he drove along the slick mountain highway, his car, a top-of-the-line sports coupe, hit a patch of oil. In an instant, the tires lost grip. The world flipped. Metal crushed. Glass shattered. The sound of bending steel echoed into the night. Emergency responders arrived within minutes. Jonathan was still breathing, but barely. He was rushed to the nearest trauma center and immediately placed on life support. Brain swelling, internal bleeding, multiple fractures. The doctors did everything they could. But when the dust settled, one fact remained. Jonathan had slipped into a deep coma. Doctors diagnosed him with a persistent vegetative state, a cruel medical term that meant he was alive, but unresponsive. His brain activity was minimal. He couldn't move, speak, or react to pain. It was like his body had stayed behind, but his soul had gone elsewhere. At first, the world cared. The media ran constant updates. Tech billionaire in coma after car crash. His social media flooded with prayers and hashtags. Family and friends filled the hospital room. His younger brother held his hand and cried. His assistant brought his favorite cologne. His lawyer reviewed his estate just in case. But time has a way of making people forget. A few weeks passed. Then months. The news cycle moved on. So did his friends. Even his family stopped coming by regularly. The hospital room, once filled with flowers and hopeful voices, grew quiet. Only the machines stayed consistent, beeping, flashing, humming. His nurses rotated shifts, checking vitals, adjusting IVs, whispering updates to doctors. But no one truly spoke to him anymore. They began to refer to him as just Room 406. Jonathan, the man who once made headlines and changed industries, became a silent shadow of himself. His eyes never opened. His fingers never moved. The man who once ruled boardrooms now lay frozen in time, locked inside a body that would not respond. And yet, behind those closed eyelids, no one really knew what was happening inside, until someone completely unexpected walked into his life. At just 12 years old, Liam had seen more pain than most people face in a lifetime. His mother, the only person who ever truly loved him, died from a long illness the year before. His father, already drowning in alcohol, fell apart completely. There were fights, shouting, nights without food. And then one day, the door slammed shut and Liam was left outside for good. With no family, no home, and no one even looking for him, Liam did what he had to do to survive. He slept under bridges, in bus stops, and behind dumpsters. He scavenged for scraps and relied on the kindness of strangers when there was any. Most days there wasn't. His clothes were torn. His shoes had holes in the soles. He hadn't felt truly warm in months. But even after all of it, Liam never lost the one thing that kept him going, his sense of wonder. He still believed, somewhere deep inside, that life could be different. It was late November when Liam found himself walking past the city hospital. The wind howled through the alleyways, cutting through his thin hoodie like it was paper. His fingers were numb. His stomach growled. That's when he spotted an unguarded loading dock around the back of the hospital. He waited until no one was looking, then quietly slipped through the door. He wasn't looking for food, just warmth. A chair, a corner, anything out of the cold. He moved quietly through the halls, sticking close to the walls, keeping his head down. Nurses hurried past him, focused on charts and routines. No one noticed the small, shivering boy sneaking between floors. Then he saw it. Room 406. The door was slightly ajar, the lights inside dim. It looked peaceful. Curious, Liam nudged the door open and stepped in. What he saw wasn't what he expected. A man, maybe in his 40s, lay motionless in the hospital bed. Tubes ran from his arms. Machines blinked steadily beside him. He looked like he was sleeping, but far too still for someone simply resting. Liam walked closer. There was something strange about the man's face. It wasn't scary or sad. It was calm. Like he was dreaming. Like he was far away. Liam stood there quietly. For reasons he didn't understand, he didn't want to leave. After a long silence, he whispered, "Are you okay?" No answer. Just the soft hum of machines and the steady beep of a heart monitor. Liam could have left. He should have. But he didn't. He sat down in the chair beside the bed and stayed for a while. Maybe 5 minutes, maybe 30. Time didn't matter. For the first time in days, he felt safe. And maybe, just maybe, that man did too. He didn't know it then, but this moment was the beginning of something that would change both their lives forever. Liam came back the next night, slipping through the hospital's back entrance just like before. No alarms, no one stopped him. Room 406 had become his secret hideout, a place that didn't judge him, didn't push him away, and strangely made him feel less alone. Each time he sat beside the man in the bed, he talked. At first just a few quiet words, then stories. Liam had never had someone to talk to like this. Someone who didn't interrupt, didn't laugh at him, didn't tell him to leave. He told the man about life on the streets, the grumpy old baker down on 3rd Avenue who always yelled when Liam tried to sneak a roll, the alley cat with one ear who followed him around like a little shadow, the park bench he called home on warmer nights. He even started inventing stories, tales of dragons that lived in sewer, drains and kings who wore pajamas made of newspaper. Wild, funny, sometimes sad. Liam talked like the man was listening, even though there was never a single sign that he could hear. Still, it felt right. As the days turned into weeks, Liam started to leave little pieces of himself behind. A daisy he picked from the hospital courtyard, a paper crane he folded from an old hospital brochure, a napkin with a crude drawing of the man wearing a superhero cape. Slowly, room 406 began to change. It was no longer cold and clinical. It became warm, colorful, personal. The nurses noticed. At first they were puzzled. Who was sneaking in? But when they realized it was a boy, harmless, quiet, kind, they let it happen. Some of them even began to help in small ways. One nurse, a soft-spoken woman named Clara, started leaving an extra sandwich on the windowsill every night. Another left coloring pencils accidentally in the drawer, but no one asked questions. Because deep down, they knew something beautiful was happening. Liam had no idea who the man really was. To him, he wasn't a billionaire. He wasn't Jonathan Reeves, tech mogul. He was just a silent friend, a safe place. And Liam? He became the heartbeat of that room. Then one night, everything changed. It was a cold Thursday evening. Liam was mid-story, describing a squirrel rebellion in Central Park, complete with tiny helmets and peanut-sized swords, when he stopped mid-sentence. He had seen something. It was just a flicker, a blink. Liam leaned in, holding his breath. "Did you move?" He waited. Then, unbelievably, the man's eyelid fluttered again, a slow, shaky movement. Liam jumped to his feet, heart pounding. "You blinked!" "I saw it! You did!" He ran from the room, shouting for help, yelling to anyone who would listen. Nurses rushed in. Doctors followed. Monitors beeped. Lights flashed. And though no one could explain how or why, one thing was clear. For the first time in 3 years, Jonathan Reeves had responded. And it all began with the voice of a boy who had nothing, but gave everything. "I saw it." He blinked. "I swear he blinked!" Liam had been in the middle of one of his wild stories, this one about a group of pigeons, running a detective agency in the city park. He laughed at his own joke, as usual, looking over at the man in the bed like he always did. But then, something changed, a tiny twitch. Liam froze. He blinked, rubbed his eyes, and stepped closer. "Did you blink? Was that you?" Jonathan lay still again. Nothing. Maybe it was a trick of the light. Maybe he was just imagining it. But then, just as Liam turned to sit back down, it happened again. A single slow flutter of the eyelid. Liam's heart felt like it was going to explode. "You are in there!" "I knew it!" He shot up and sprinted down the hallway, yelling at the top of his lungs. "Nurse! Doctor! Anyone!" The man in room 406, he moved. Staff came running, not because they believed him, but because of the urgency in his voice. A nurse entered the room first, followed by a doctor. They checked Jonathan's vitals, examined his eyes, ran their tests. For a moment, everything was quiet again. Then, Jonathan's finger twitched. A nurse gasped. A few minutes later, he slightly turned his head to the right, toward Liam. From that moment on, Jonathan began showing more signs of awareness. A flutter of fingers, a blink on command, a slow, deliberate squeeze of the hand when prompted. It was undeniable. Jonathan Reeves was waking up. Doctors were stunned. After 3 years of complete silence, this sudden progress defied every explanation. They reviewed his scans, triple-checked his brain activity, consulted specialists across the country. But no one could give a scientific reason why he was suddenly improving. One doctor simply said, "Something woke him up." And I think we all know what that something was, or rather who it was. Word spread quickly, first among hospital staff, then the local news, then national headlines. Mysterious boy awakens coma patient. Tech billionaire reacts after 3 years thanks to homeless child. Room 406. Miracle. The boy who brought back a life. Cameras lined the sidewalk outside the hospital. Journalists begged for interviews. Offers flooded in. Book deals, documentaries, TV specials. But Liam wanted none of it. He hid from the spotlight, slipping out of side exits whenever reporters showed up. He wasn't there for attention. He wasn't interested in money or fame. He only cared about the man who had listened to his stories. Quietly, faithfully, for weeks, his friend. Every night, Liam still came to room 406. He sat in the same chair, told the same silly stories, and smiled every time Jonathan blinked in response. Their bond had gone beyond explanation. It wasn't about wealth or status. It was about connection. About one lonely boy who brought life into a room everyone had given up on. And the man who, against all odds, had come back because of it. When Jonathan Reeves finally spoke, his first word was, "Liam." The room went silent. Nurses froze. Doctors looked at each other, stunned. It wasn't just the first word Jonathan had spoken in 3 years, it was who he said. Liam was there, sitting in his usual chair, holding the paper crane he'd made weeks ago. His eyes widened. You remember me?" he asked, barely above a whisper. Jonathan slowly nodded, his voice still raspy but filled with emotion. "You saved me." It was the beginning of something no one could have imagined. 6 months later, Jonathan was sitting up in bed, speaking more clearly, working through intensive physical rehab. His hands trembled, but they could move. His voice cracked, but it was steady. His mind, once lost in darkness, was sharp again. Doctors called it one of the most remarkable recoveries in medical history. But Jonathan had only one explanation. "Medicine brought my body back," he said in a press conference. "But Liam brought me back. His voice pulled me from the darkness. His stories gave me something to hold on to. That boy reminded me what it means to be human." The world listened. And for the first time in a long time, it wasn't just Jonathan Reeves, the billionaire they saw. It was Jonathan, Reeves the man. When reporters asked Liam why he kept visiting, why he talked to someone who couldn't answer, he just shrugged in that quiet way of his. "He looked lonely," Liam said. "I guess I was too." That simple answer touched hearts around the world. But Jonathan didn't stop there. Overwhelmed by gratitude and love, he made a decision that would change both their lives forever. He adopted Liam, legally, officially, lovingly. The boy who once slept in bus stations was now living in a warm home with the man he'd brought back to life. They weren't just patient and visitor anymore. They were father and son, but Jonathan still wasn't done. He used his fortune to launch the Liam Foundation, a global charity dedicated to helping homeless children. Its mission was simple: to give kids like Liam a chance, a voice, a home. Shelters began to rise in major cities. Food programs were launched. Mobile clinics drove through neighborhoods offering medical care. Education centers opened their doors, offering tutoring, counseling, and safety. Each building bore a small plaque near the entrance. It read, "Inspired by the boy who saw hope when no one else did." Liam, still shy in front of cameras, became a symbol of resilience, kindness, and quiet courage. And Jonathan? He found a deeper purpose than boardrooms and business deals ever gave him. He had gained more than a second chance at life. He'd gained a son, a reason to live, And together, they turned a hospital room forgotten by the world into a story that would never be forgotten. Because sometimes, it only takes one voice, one story to wake up not just a man but the world. Thank you for watching our video.